Hey folks, the last time I looked at Continental cross-country tires was in 2016 when I looked at what was the perfect combo at the time, Race King and Cross King. Those tires had a great run, but fast forward to 2025 when finally Continental replaced them with the newer version. They're now called Dubnital and Trinotal. Let's take a look at these tires and see how they're different or the same with the old and compare them with the many tires that I showed you guys as of late for cross country and light trail. Many of you guys know that I've reviewed more of the gravity oriented tires from Conti. Gripology is what I use on one of the bikes front and rear, and the comments in general are very positive. The new Conti tire designs are great for grip, rolling resistance, great dampening of the new casing and rubber. And obviously that's the type of characteristics that I'm looking for from these new race tires. Both Dubnital and Trinitol come with pretty impressive weights. I will show you that in a second. But I have to admit that one of the most important aspects of these tires is gonna be the width or the overall volume. That measurement is going to be very important for me. But before we get there, let me show you what I got here on the label. You'll see exactly the details of the tire. On one side of the box, you're going to see the specified terrain for these new tires. Trinitol is mostly for hard pack and mixed terrain. Dubnital is mostly for hard pack, and that's also printed right here on the face of the box where you see the name. Don't be confused by the side of the box where you see all the new compounds and casings for the different riding types. These are considered to be race tires that only come in that rapid or grip compound, and you have the race or the trail casing, and the quick summary of that can be seen right at the top of the box. What I got is the Dubnital 29 at 2.4 in what's called Race Rapid. I'm considering this for the rear tire, so this would be the fastest compound and the lightest casing, the Race. And the Trinitol is the same 29 at 2.4. This one is a Race Grip, so the same race casing with a slightly grippier rubber, this being the front tire. And out of the box, surprise, surprise, they ran out of yellow and they used more of the orange color here on the Dubnital. The weight of the Trinitol, this is supposed to be anywhere between 725 and 740 grams for 29 or 2.4. This is 736, so definitely in spec. The more orangey Dubnital, this is supposed to be 645 and is a 662. Rick XC came up anywhere between 743 and 783 grams. Vittoria Mezcal and Peyote were quite consistent, around 730 grams. And then the Pirellis go between 620-ish grams to close to 700 depending on the casing used. So these are some of the lightest tires for cross-country and light trail, and they are true to the specified weights. But are they going to be true to their specified width? Just like with their bigger tires, you have that pattern here on the sidewall, and if you remember the pictograms, you know the specs of the tire itself. These are the race casing tires, so the lightest they offer, and it's pretty plasticky and quite stiff, similar to what the Rick XC offers. Definitely feels stronger than the Pirelli light casing. 3 plies of 110 TPI fabric here underneath with a bit of protection here under the threads. And just like Pirelli and Schwalbe do, there's only one rubber compound used on the tire. And that provides a consistent feel of the tire as it wears out. But let's get these guys installed on a rim. This is an Elite NAR Trail wheel set with 30mm ID rim and 24mm height. Remember, these tires are directional when you install them, and by the way, it was fairly easy to put it on the rim. It's not as tight as the latest Pirellis. Side by side, I would say pretty familiar thread pattern, this being the good old Cross King, now called Trinitol, and this being the good old Race King, now called Dubnital. Pretty aggressive cornering knobs here on the Dubnital. Pretty aggressive cornering knobs on the Trinitol, the familiar rolling center of the former Race King. Now Conti says that the knobs are spread out by 10%, sipes throughout pretty much all the knobs. And on the Trinitol, you do have the cornering knobs slightly further away from the casing. On the Dubnital, you do have them pretty much in line. And right off the bat, I can't really say that the volume of the tires is tiny. It's not as big as a Maxxis Aspen, I can tell you that. I will measure it in a second, but first I'm going to tell you that I left these inflated at 35 psi for a couple of days. Now I have them down to 25 psi. And by the way, on the sidewall, you're gonna see that the recommended minimum pressure from Conti is 23. We usually run tires way below 20 psi, definitely not 23. So what do they measure? Measuring the center knob first, about 2.9 for the Trinitol and about 2.5 for the Dubnital, so no surprise there. Cornering knobs, about 3.9 millimeters here, and maybe slightly taller on the Dubnital, but I don't have a good way to measuring this. Now the stated width is supposed to be 60 millimeters, and the Trinitol, here we go, 59.3, and Dubnital about the same, 59, so just under 60 millimeters. As for the height of the tire, here we go, 79 minus 24, about 55 millimeters. So did you hear my sigh of relief? Guys, these are not 56, 57 millimeter wide like some people tell you. These are at most 1 millimeter narrower than some of the tires that we've been using. Very similar to that first generation Pirelli XC RC, similar to the Schwalbe 2.4, and definitely not as big as the Aspen, which is the biggest one of all. If you look at the rolling resistance sights, you're gonna see that these tires are very, very competitive, right up there with the Rick XC, and not that fast compared to something like the Pirelli XC RH that I reviewed not too long ago. So I think Conti put out some competitive XC tires. Obviously, we'll have to see how they fare on the trail. I'm really curious for you guys in Europe if you've used these tires, if you have any feedback for us. I am relieved that these are not that small. The new Pirellis are going on my kids' bikes, and I'll find a way to run this throughout the season as well. You saw my combination of Dubnital rear and Trinitol front. That's how I plan to use them, and I think they're gonna be an awesome pair of fast XC tires or light trail tires. So what do you guys think about these new faster tires from Conti? Again, do you have any experience running them? Do you have any questions for me? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys found this information useful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the trail. Why not running some fast Conti tires? Cheers, guys. Cheers.